Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another exciting episode of The Apex. My name is Paul. I hope everybody's having a great start to your week. Hope everybody had a great weekend. I am joined by my three co-hosts, like always. Josh, how are you today?
Doing really good. I don't think we have three co-hosts. We might have two, but that's all right. Math is
Me
hard.
I'm not
myself
It's
and
okay.
I.
That's all right.
not good at math. I saw three pictures on the screen and I counted three. I'm sorry.
Well,
All
that's all right.
right.
We'll let you slide this time, but I'm doing good.
We're off to a great start. Meredith, how are you today?
I'm fantastic. I am tired and delirious too, so
I
I'm
can
with you.
tell.
The sad thing is that like you said it and I didn't miss a beat. I was like, yeah, he's
Yeah,
right.
you know what? Everyone would have gone with it, but Josh just has to be
No,
the jerk to point out my faults.
I had to call it out. Like as soon as I heard it, I was like, "Oop, no, that's wrong," and I had to just be like, "Eh," I had to make a little joke out of it. It's low
I
hanging
Well,
love
fruit.
it.
it's all right. Hey, listen, if you've known me long enough, you know that I'm kind of a dummy. So there's a lot of that when it comes with me. But Meredith is back from her trip to Laguna Seca. I personally can't wait to hear all about it. This was her first IndyCar experience, and she definitely did it the right way, in my opinion. But we'll get into that later on in this episode. This episode is all about the Belgian Grand Prix, great track at Spa. Kind of an eventful one. I mean, there's a lot of frustration. Even the dogs are like, I don't know what
Biscuit
happened.
said, my gosh, I've got something to say.
Absolutely. Listen, get me a microphone. We need to talk.
I
Biscuit
think we.
said, I've got more to update than the spa coverage yesterday.
Absolutely. So, all right, guys, let's kind of get into it. What did you guys think of the race? Where do we stand? I feel like there's going to be a lot of strong opinions about this one. Josh, we'll let you go first.
Yeah, I'm gonna save my complaints for the full blown conversation, but like overarching, I enjoy a sprint race weekend. I do think that adds a little bit of spice to the weekend. I know that's not the most common opinion for a Formula One fan to have. The only the downside of it is you don't get to see maybe as much testing on new parts. And we saw a lot of upgrades this week, so maybe could have had some better performances on some teams if they had had some time in like a second free practice. But I enjoyed the sprint race. It was fun. Surprised us all and was really quick. Had that low, real small rear wing. As far as the race itself, we'll get into it, but there's some questionable decisions about weather. There's some questionable conversations about Spa being on the calendar long term. We'll get into all that stuff. But as far as the racing goes, it was a decent race because of the conditions. I think that if it wasn't for having that wet condition at the beginning of the race, we would have just gotten a parade. Maybe the Pirelli tire situation with having a kind of a gap between the C1 and C3, medium and hard tires, maybe could have added a level of enjoyment that we kind of missed out on because of the wet weather. But I think we got what we kind of expected out of it with a little bit of rain. What do you guys think?
Meredith?
Yeah, I was actually thought the sprint race was better than the full race. I thought it was really good. To your point, Josh, I was completely surprised by Max. I mean, I know this is a track that Max typically does well. I had Max getting on a podium, which like I don't know why we didn't think to do a sprint prediction and a regular race prediction last week. I was realizing that, but
Yeah.
I expected that Max would podium this weekend. I thought he would do well, but to see him take that sprint win and do what he did, I thought that was amazing. Race day, obviously being a McLaren fan, was super excited. I thought Oscar had a really strong start. That the overtake of Lando was simple, it was clean. Oscar drove a straight race. It was great. Lando was coming back there some at the end, couple of slip ups that made him really lose the chance to really come back and fight for it. But overall, very happy. Most notably was very, very, very pumped for Lewis. Josh, I know you're wearing your Ferrari shirt. I was wearing my Lewis shirt today. I think what he did was absolutely incredible. And as a normal Tifosi would do, it's given me hope, and then, seeing Charles get up there and get a podium, like it's giving me hope that the upgrades are working and that there is something to chase here with Ferrari for the rest of the season. So I think those are some of my high notes. I also think that Stake drove incredibly well yesterday. Those last 11 laps, I was just really bummed that they had to go in and pit. I know Nico was talking about how he could not make those tires last 11 more laps, which was a bummer, but I think Stake looked good again. I think the Haas boys looked really good again. They were right there. So for me, that little midfield section of that kind of like 11 to 14 slotting right there, seeing Haas and Stake be right up in there has been a lot of fun these last few races. So those were my high notes. Those were the positives I took away.
Yeah, overall, I mean, excuse me, it was a decent race. I thought they prolonged the weather stuff way too long. There just seems to be no consistency. Last year in Brazil, we're driving in torrential downpours and we're okay with that. But this one, I mean, yes, visibility was a little rough, but overall, it wasn't terrible when they were doing the formation lap. So I didn't really seem to understand what took forever. This goes back to all the complainings we have about the FIA. There just needs to be consistency in the way we go about doing certain things. And more or less, I mean, we always understand that McLaren is going to be first and second. It's just a matter of who's going to get it. It's always just that little mistake that can get you and lose you the race. And good for Lewis. I think we saw a reinvigorated Lewis in that post race interview, and he said that he finally found something in the car. I'm hoping this gets the ball rolling in getting him back into some sort of winning shape, because I don't think Ferrari's bringing in any more upgrades for the rest of the years. This is a car that he has for the rest of the season, so hopefully he does well.
Do you feel like maybe there's something like in him that needed this to almost like jumpstart it, like to get that drive going of like being in the back and like having to fight his way forward to like really make something happen? Do you feel like that gave him some extra momentum?
Absolutely, and I think it just goes with anybody. I mean, you two guys are big golfers. You can go a streak of hitting bad shots, but that one shot where you just hit it magically, it kind of gets the ball rolling in it. And I think it's just more in your head than anything. It just gets your confidence level. Like, dude, I smoked the hell out of that ball. Let's do that again. And I think that's what he needed. I think a lot of it is he's getting up there in age. I think his best years are way past behind us. It's does that self-doubt creep in? Like, do I still have it? Is there still something left in the tank? And I think he proved that he did.
I think that this weekend I saw a lot of media coverage about Lewis going to Mercedes, right, and talking to Kimi. And I almost don't wonder if being that mentor and kind of helping Kimi out might have gotten him out of his own rut, right? Because Lewis, through free practice one kind of seemed like he was real down about the car, wasn't really fully understanding the upgrades. That's what I meant earlier when I said that, having only one free practice with the upgrades, you don't learn a lot. It's hard to then turn around and go into a qualifying session. And, we saw Lewis with a couple mistakes, one of which I think was the car and the sprint qual. Now, the regular race quality, I think he was just putting too much pressure on himself and ended up with the track limits violation. So I think that's more so on him. But after all that, seeing him kind of talk to Kimi and being in the motorhome over there at Mercedes, I don't wonder if kind of like, because it almost seemed like they're in the same position, right? They're both struggling in qualifying. They're both struggling with the car. They're both kind of in a rut. And I almost wonder if Lewis just kind of giving that advice and being that mentor almost like talked himself out of it as well. So I don't know. I don't know if that had anything to do with it. I'd like to think it did. I like to think that Lewis kind of took it upon himself to be that mentor and then kind of realized at the same time, like, all this stuff I'm telling Kimi, I need to take to heart myself and practice what I'm preaching right now. And I mean, that's Lewis Hamilton's element, right? That wet conditions in the rain, starting on not a great position. We saw him do it in Suzuka in the same kind of conditions. Great driver in the wet. So I just think that was kind of he had all the cards in his hand that he needed, I think, for this weekend. He had good conditions that he knows he can drive in. He might have had a little confidence boost being a mentor. He started to kind of get the feel of the car through the sprint race, I think, with the upgrades. So, I hope that Lewis can take this into Hungary and into the rest of the year and, through the summer break and have that little bit of confidence that he needs to perform at his best. So I think time will tell, but I liked what I saw out of it. And obviously I'm wearing the shirt, very soaked for Charles. I like the way Ferrari's going. It's that little bit of hope that's going to kill me at the end of the year, but here we are.
Here we are indeed. I agree. I think there was like the practice what you preach thing was maybe that was the light bulb moment. I was also wondering if maybe he was having of like, okay, I can't like go into Kimmy's trailer and tell him all this stuff and then get out there and be really hard on myself, be really down on myself, not start every day fresh. So I agree. I think it clicked something good. Whatever happened, I'm here for. Keep it going, please.
So let's kind of get into it. What did you guys think of red flagging the race due to the rain? What were you guys' thoughts on it?
I thought it was, I think at best, inconsistent. Completely understand the reasoning, right? Of course, safety first in any of these motorsports categories. We do not want to see anyone hurt or killed, God forbid. So I understand the idea of safety, right? But it also seems just so inconsistent. And, I think the comments, everyone seemed to they didn't really want to say anything against the FIA except for Max Verstappen. Max really went out there and said, we like those classic Formula One races in the rain. We can drive in it. I wish we would have had a couple laps because if Max is right. If they had 3 racing laps, they might have been able to clear up enough water to make it a little bit more tenable for the rest of the race. So if they had had a chance to even try it, maybe they could have gotten the race on, but they didn't even give it a chance. I think that did a disservice. I'm still confused at why some races will use the wet tire and then other races it seems to be completely off the table to use. I understand that the wet tire is not a great tire, but when the conditions are what they are, we've seen them use it in the past. Why did we not even give the wet tire a chance to see if that did any better? So inconsistency with the race director just seems to be plaguing the sport. That'd be my comment. Inconsistency is what's killing it. I don't mind that it was red flag, but if we're gonna race like that, then we're gonna have to do that across the board. You can't have Brazil last year, Suzuka this year. There's been a couple other early in this season that we had plenty of rain. I don't really quite get this one.
I don't either. I was wondering, like Gary, our friend that went on our trip with us, he was like, well, hell, they can figure it out at golf tournaments, when to delay it, when to start it. They look at the radar. Why can't they figure it out? And it's like, I was kind of like, he makes a good point. And maybe there was something in the conversation when they were doing that formation lap of let's go, let's see how it feels. Let's see what we think. But maybe they were also looking at the radar and maybe things were kind of iffy on the radar. And they thought, let's just play it safe. Maybe they thought it looks like it could come through, looks like it could clear out, but we don't have enough information to be able to tell. But then I think the amount of time that they waited to that's just a lot, and at that point they're sitting around and it's like, I didn't even know all the stuff about the time limits when you were messaging about that yesterday, Josh. I was like, I had no idea. But I do think it is kind of one of those things where they're like, okay, are we going or not? Let's go out, let's maybe do a couple of laps and see, but it just felt like they waited way too long. And I agree, it's just inconsistent. If we're going to have it happen at one race in part of the season and not another, it doesn't make sense to me. I was wondering if maybe there were also some emotional factors weighing in with it being like Antoine Hubert, right? I don't know how to say it. It's a French
Yes.
name, but with him and it being the anniversary of him passing at that track, I was imagining that was probably playing into their narrative too. Because imagine being the FIA that calls it, that they're good to go out and race, and then an accident happens and something happens to a driver, it would be on them. So I think part of me was like, is it a damned if you do, damned if you don't? Is it we were waiting on the radar and trying to figure out which way we were going to go? But either way, I thought it was way too long.
Yeah, I agree. We just need some more consistency and some more clarity on really what's going on. And Max said it right. I think if they do drive a handful of laps, they can displace more water and they might be able to clear it up sooner. I still don't really understand the wet and the inter tires. They always talk about water displacement. You figure the full wedge would displace more water. I don't know if Pirelli needs to figure this out in the offseason and bring us a better wet tire.
I mean, the drivers absolutely said that last year. They said, if you want to see us race differently, give us a better wet tire. They verbatim said that last season. So
Yeah,
I
a lot of the
don't
issue
know what they're looking
with
for.
the water displacement in the wet tire isn't necessarily traction or anything like that. Like the tire does grab well. It does have enough rubber on it. But the issue is the water displacement, yes, creates a lot more spray. But the real issue is the downforce of that car and how much of the floor is affecting on the track. And it's sucking up all that water off the track and just ejecting it straight behind, right? We talk a lot about the dirty air behind a car, right? The big rooster tails off the tires. You're getting all this spray off the diffuser. You're getting a lot of that dirty air now has just water, and it makes visibility impossible. So I think that was more so why the race was red flagged, because I think visibility was, I think they said it, visibility is more of the issue than traction was. But once again, we've seen them do it before, so I don't know why this particular race was any different. And maybe this is what the FIA could start doing, is if people are really having these questions, why not put out a press release and say, hey, this is exactly what we were thinking when we were thinking it. Here's timestamps, here's timeline, here's the weather forecast, here's why we did what we did. And if that information was a little bit more public and they really got ahead of it and made it an effort to tell the fans and I'm sure they're telling the teams, but to tell the fans and to tell the spectators exactly what is going on, there'd probably be a lot less questions and we'd probably be sitting here having a different conversation. So I think maybe some transparency in the future could be beneficial, but it seems like the FIA really has no interest in any transparency except for the teams. So I don't know if that's too much to ask for, but I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I think we could all want some more clarity and understanding of really what's going on behind the scenes to just be more educated fan and know what's going on.
And maybe they do it in a format that fans are already familiar with. They put out the technical statements. It is on the letterhead. We've all seen them 1,000 times. They could put out a technical summary like that when there's a delay of race start or anything like that. Put it out in a format of communication format that people are used to looking at and interpreting, because then at least if you're communicating in a way that's consistent with the way you deliver other messages, like, hey, we're not going to come out and do a whole press conference and stuff like that. But hey, we do put out these releases just like we do when we do technical inspections, when we give a driver a penalty, a team a penalty, anything like that. Hey, put it out in that exact same press release format that we as the consumer know how to read it, analyze it. I think media outlets would be able to share it, get more traction, and like give everybody in the fan base a little bit more clarity. And like you said, Josh, more transparency.
Yeah. So let's get, getting back to the race. Lando loses that first place spot right at the beginning of the race. Oscar seemingly just beats him. And I don't know if it was Lando making a mistake, Oscar just being that much better, but I know that Lando was having battery issues, so it was really unclear what was going on. But, great race by Oscar. He seemingly seems to be perfect in all sense of the word, and Lando just, I don't know if it's mental mistakes or what, but he just didn't quite seem to have it, and his pace just wasn't there.
I think that Josh called it last week when we were talking about the track, that he said whoever we see pulling out and being in front is going to have that benefit, because it's such a long track, and those people out in front can just really take with that lead and have all that clean air. And I definitely think we saw that came into play with how well it worked. Oscar's start was strong, it was phenomenal. I don't know what happened with Lando's. I don't know if it was the battery issue, bad start, combination of it. But yeah, I think once Oscar got out there, it was pretty clear that he was just kind of flying, and I think he drove a great race. I think Lando did really good. I think he recovered well. When they put him on that hard, I was like, what are we doing, McLaren? I was shocked. They said, give it time. It's going to work out, Lando. And then those little slips at the end, I was so bummed. But I thought it was really fun to watch both of them drive. Charles drove great. Charles and Max, like, battling. The way Charles was defending Max at the beginning, I was like, this is excellent driving. Like, this may be the only action that I get to see today. And I thought that Charles defending off Max was really, really incredible, and probably the most exciting part of the race for me.
Yeah, so I read a bunch of comments from teams and Pirelli after the race. The interesting thing from Pirelli was that they were also surprised that McLaren put Lando on the hard, because there was such a difference between the hard and the medium this weekend, where they had left a gap between the C1 and the C3. The idea was that they could, maybe change some strategy options if it was a dry race, but being a wet race, no one expected the hard tire at all. So I wonder if, looking back on that they think that the decision was wise, especially with that medium being able to last the full race distance. It doesn't make much sense to go for the hard. It didn't benefit Lando in any means at all. It took a long time for that tire to get going, and I think that robbed him of quite a bit of a chance to catch up in the early stages of that stint. Also interesting, going back to the weather, kind of, a lot of these teams either had one or both cars set up for a wet race. Differences in their rear wings, they had differences in their ground clearances, ride heights. So a lot of these teams suffered greatly from the decisions at the start where they weren't able to run in the wet as long as they could. We saw some teams able to pick up positions early, but then really suffer at the end in the dry conditions and just really being outpaced. So I thought that was definitely interesting, and I wonder how much that really did play into some teams' decisions on the tires and when to come in.
I mean, you saw that with a gap with the Williams cars. Alex was towards the top, and Carlos just couldn't get past 15th. And then James Vowles at the end of the race said, "Listen, we put Carlos on a different rear wing because we thought it was going to be wetter for longer, and that didn't work out." So you definitely saw that.
Yeah, I think so. I think several teams failed to make the right decisions strategy-wise early. One team I thought made the right decisions, just didn't get the benefit of them, was Red Bull. Red Bull seemed to make all the right decisions. They wanted to have Yuki actually pit on the same lap as Max, but miscommunication, Yuki was called into the pits too late and was unable to make it into the pit entry, which put him a lap behind the rest of the field on getting on the dry tire, and that killed Yuki's race, which is so unfortunate because he had qualified so well.
Unfortunate for
I
Yuki.
hated
He was
that.
having a great weekend.
He was having the best weekend he's had in the Red Bull car.
So fun to watch, and especially after it being the first race after Horner is gone and Laurent gets promoted. Like, I wanted that for Yuki so bad.
Yeah, so he's had such a great sprint race, and I just feel terrible for Yuki, but hopefully they can learn something from this and move on. The other team that did really well was was Ferrari. You know, you always complain about their strategy and how they made terrible decisions. This one was a great decision in pitting Lewis a lap earlier than everyone, putting him on those medium tires, and he seemingly was flying. Moved up from what did he start? Was in the top 10 before we knew it. I mean, I was
Flying.
losing it when they made that decision. It was either going to be, it was, regardless, it was going to be a gamble, right? It was either going to be really well or just awful. But for some reason, it just worked in their favor. That the racing gods were in their favor, and good for Lewis. He really, really had a great showing.
Here was Joe watching Hamilton, just like up close. He's like, come on, come on.
So I think that, correct me if I'm wrong, I really think that this is Lewis making these calls, because that's twice now in two different races in two different weekends. I think it was Suzuka, if I remember correctly, and then to this weekend, where Lewis was pit a lap early and got on dry tires and then made up quite a few positions. So I don't wonder if Lewis that's just the veteran in him. He knows when that track is not, when it's going to be able to grip up, and he
I
makes
would
that
be
call
interested
and they go with it.
to hear that on board, and maybe I'll go back and watch the race with his on board and see
Yeah.
what they do say, because you might be right. I think it's a lot of that has to do with the experience that he does have over some of the other drivers.
I thought I read something where it said he's also working with a new team engineer. And I was like, what? I was like, that would be interesting. And I was like, do they maybe mean like Atomy, like the radio guy? Like I was like, what is that? I'd never heard anything about a change in the staff that he was working with, that it was like they have him working with some additional person on the team to like try to improve the communication. So I'll try to go back and find it and send it to you guys to see if y'all
Yeah, it would be an
thoughts
interesting
on that.
read. So yeah, but let's kind of get into the rant you were talking about. But before
I
we
was
hit
like, it's
record,
been
Josh,
nice and pleasant. This
I
has been
know.
nice and
and
I've been
pleasant.
trying my hardest.
Let's get to the real.
let's just say it. These cars suck. I hate them. I can't wait for 26. These cars. I think Spa is a great track. It's one of those most, legendary tracks. It has the potential to give us a lot of wheel racing and a lot of passing, but these cars are awful. It turns into just a big 43 lap parade, and if you don't do something at the beginning, you're pretty much stuck. And I think we saw that. Josh, I know you have a lot of strong opinions on this one.
Yeah, and I think my opinions change more so into my opinions are more so stable now than they were at one point in time. I think now watching endurance racing and seeing other categories race at Spa, I have a different opinion on the track than I did before. So before I would have been like, oh, the track's terrible. There's only one overtaking zone or one spot that you can really overtake unless you're just really bold into the final bus stop. There's nowhere to pass. I was just really pessimistic about the track. But then watching other categories and how exciting that track really is, and watching, old F1 races and going back and really watching through some of the stuff in the 90s with these other cars that were, quite similar to maybe what we'll get next year. Maybe. Who knows? No one knows. But the track is great. Unfortunately, it's now going to go away, right? We're looking at probably going to Belgium every other year. And so you can say now that this car, this regulation cycle has killed Spa. It is now dead, and it will not be what it was. It's not going to be the historic track. It's a driver's favorite for a reason. I think it's a disservice to the track that it's gone this way, especially to replace it with other street circuits. I hate that, and I know
I agree.
that's a commonly held belief from more contemporary F1 fans. A lot of the newer fans like the city circuits, but I'm falling into that contemporary zone myself where the circuits that are designed for racing just really can be really exciting. It's just very unfortunate that this car has it's not suited for a lot of these traditional circuits, and Spa is right there as one of them. I think it's probably the biggest loss from this regulation cycle will be, losing Spa and maybe Zandvoort. So it's unfortunate. I can't stand it.
Meredith, do you have any thoughts?
Just I I feel like I'm left with more questions than answers, Paul. I think, like you sent that P1 Matt and Tommy video, and about them talking about, is it the track or is it the car? And it is absolutely the car. It is this regulation. So Josh, one thing I do wonder is if we get into the new regulations and we have this new car that is more competitive, that is a smaller build, that can go back to overtaking and can make some of these more historic tracks more exciting. It's kind of like when we talked about Monaco. I don't know if you've ever watched the Formula E race in Monaco. nuts. It's amazing. It's so competitive because those cars are smaller. They're more competitive. It's like it's wild. So part of me wonders if we will see that luster come back once the new regulations are here. The car's a little bit smaller, it can be more competitive. My hope is that the FIA would be open to, the fan feedback. And if they get a car that's on that track and the drivers love it and the fans love it and they start to see it, like, would they be open to alternating that calendar and changing of, let's just keep adding street circuits in any city around the world we feel like adding it to. I know they'll keep adding, but I do wonder if they'll keep in some of these classics, even if it's alternating, but maybe be more open to changing what that calendar looks like based on the fan reaction to the 26 car. I feel like it's too early for me to say what I think will happen long term without us ever having seen that car or knowing what that's going to do for fans, excitement, and engagement at those tracks that we know we just feel like it sucks because there's just not a lot going on.
Yeah, and it's not the track's fault. It's truly the car's fault, and maybe these are conversations they're having within, and they just haven't been public about it. And I think I think it would go great lengths if they said, "Listen, guys, we screwed up with these new regulations. It wasn't the right maneuver." I've been very vocal about this. You guys know it. I don't care how fast these cars are. I don't care who's got the world record in Spa, in Suzuka. I could give two fucks, honestly. Give us some more wheel-to-wheel racing. You got legendary tracks like Suzuka and Spa that have never changed, that have stayed consistent. Sure, Spa, you can make the argument, has changed a little bit, but we had great wheel-to-wheel racing in the 80s and the 90s. What's the difference now? It's the cars. It's the cars. They're awful. You turn on and the first 10 laps are great, and then it just turns into a parade. It turns into a parade. How you qualify is how you finish, and I'm just getting fed up with the fact that qualifying is some weekend seems to be like the most exciting portion of the weekend. And, the exciting part about this one was the rain. What strategy are we going to go with? But all in all, it was just kind of, yeah.
Yeah. I feel like I'm at a point in the season where I'm like looking at the remaining races of the year and knowing which ones I'm like really excited about and which ones I'm like really, really pumped for those weekends. And those are a dwindling number of races, but it's like I'm super excited for everything like Monza and beyond. I'm like Monza and beyond, really through Mexico City. I'm psyched for Vegas. I'm psyched for. So I'm like, okay, like I feel like I'm just at the lull part of the calendar where it's like these two races. I feel like I'm never like I want to go to these two races because of like where they are in the world and being able to see Spa and Belgium and Budapest and going and doing all that. Like, yeah, that'd be a great trip. We know I love a trip, but in terms of like this part of the calendar right here, I'm kind of like, yeah, pretty much anything in between like Silverstone and Monza. I'm kind of like, okay, these are like my lull races. So I'm ready to get back to the ones that really excite me.
Yeah. I mean, for me, Vegas and Brazil are the first two that come to mind, and you get some really good racing, especially in Brazil. We saw it last year with the rain and the year before. So that's the one I look forward to towards the end of the year. And Vegas, I didn't think Vegas was going to be as good as it was, but that's really turned into being a great circuit, a lot of good overtaking. So other than that, I don't really have a lot more. There's not really a track that's like, yep, I have to watch that one.
That's so weird because you're coming to one. It's so weird. Circuit of the Americas didn't pop in your head at all because that's going to be your
another
first
one people
F1
love.
race in person and you're not even thinking about watching it.
No, I mean, I'm excited for other reasons, but I mean, does Coda give us that fun wheel-to-wheel racing that you can get?
Yeah.
Maybe just for me, I don't remember a lot of it, but I can't wait to get proven wrong.
Yeah, Coda is actually another one specific driver's favorites. Actually, I saw an interview with Lewis, and somebody had asked him what his favorite tracks are, and Coda was on his list. So it's definitely up there. But once again, it's a circuit. It's designed for racing. It is high speed. It's got overtaking zones. It's got heavy braking zones. It's got high speed and low speed corners. It's got it all. Vegas, I don't know how, but has managed to be the best street circuit to me. I think it's probably just the long straights. I think some of it obviously is like just it's Vegas. It's cool. It's pomp and circumstance. It's Vegas. It's the nightlife. It's a night race. It's neon. That's all great. But having those long straights, the heavy braking zones, it's lended to some pretty decent racing. But it's just unfortunate that next weekend is not a great track to me. I don't particularly like Hungary's layout. I don't like that circuit very much, but I hate to see us lose circuits that are designed for racing that have been very good before. And like we're looking at going, Madrid next year. No one knows what that's going to look like. Madrid might suck. It also could be like Vegas and be a great track. So it's hard to turn down a classic and try to pick up a street circuit that we don't know anything else about. And it's hard too to talk about the future when we don't know what these cars are going to be. Now we've heard mixed reviews from teams. We've heard mixed reviews from drivers. We know nothing about these things.
Lewis came out this week and said the cars are slow and awful, but I'm sure that's all just sim driving. So who really knows what the answer is? And getting back to your point on Madrid, the silver lining for me would be these drivers are more involved in the design of these tracks. We know that Carlos Sainz is a lead and, one could argue an engineer in trying to figure out that track. So maybe coming from a driver's perspective like Carlos, he won't give us a stupid track. He might give us something of excitement. So who knows? I'm still hopeful, but you never really know.
Track could be absolute trash, and you bet your ass I'm planning a trip. I love Spain so much. It could be the worst track of all time, and I'm going to try to convince y'all to go.
I mean, I'd still go. I mean, Madrid would be a lot of fun. Spain is one of the places on my bucket list, so I would still go. Listen, if we can just set the record straight, we're a little pessimistic right now, but we still love this sport. This sport brought the three of us together, brought this platform. So there's still a lot of love and respect for this sport. And even though it might be a boring race in Hungary, I'm still going to tune in. I'm still going to be at work with my AirPod in my ear, trying to find the 5 minutes to watch it. I'm still going to keep coming back for more. So, through all the complaining, through all the things, I still love this sport, and I don't think I'll ever stop.
Yeah, I don't think you could be.
I think I'm more open. I think because of that I feel like not like F1 fatigue, but like I've been watching it for 5 years now, so it's like I feel like I still have so much to learn, but I do feel like because of Josh, to your point earlier about like WEC, like watching WEC, watching NASCAR, watching IndyCar, like seeing what other racing series are capable of. It makes me excited to have other motorsports that I can like fuel in so that like when my excitement may dip a little bit for F1, because maybe I'm not as in love with this track, I'm like, I've got this one over here. I've got this other racing series going on that I can watch too. So I think it's just been, as a motorsport fan, like that's one thing that's really nice is when you get fatigued in like one series, you can like hop over to another and like be amped about that. And it like doesn't change your love of the sport at all. It's just like, hey, maybe I don't find this race to be as exciting. And so like, I'm still going to watch it, but I can be really pumped for this other racing series too. So I think the further I get into my F1 fanship, I think the more I will feel that way about certain tracks, maybe not have like deep feelings about them, but I'll continue to learn more and then be able to be like, hey, I don't love it. Am I still going to watch it? Yeah, but maybe I am really pumped about this other race this weekend.
Josh?
Yeah, I think to be a fan of a sport doesn't mean you have to love it every minute of every day, right? I think that an important part of being a fan of a sport and then like us having this platform and we discuss things, like we can't sit here and just be positive 100% of the time. We have opinions. We want to share them. That's the whole point of doing this, right? So, just because we are negative about a certain track, I would say certain tracks, right, suck watching for F1, right? Monaco, Paul, you hate it watching an F1 track or F1 race at Monaco. But I guarantee you, if you went and picked up F2 and you watched the F2 race at Monaco this year, you'd probably have a different opinion on that track, right? So
yeah, you're not wrong.
It's you got to take the good with the bad. I think that like with Spa, it's not my favorite track, but it has such a history that you can appreciate if you love the sport and you can understand why it's so important. And once again, if you go watch the F2, you get great racing. And if you want to be, if you want to like open wheel racing as opposed to some other categories, there is still plenty of great racing going on inside open wheel, inside the formula categories that is there for you. It's not all F1 all the time. There's plenty of young kids that are looking for a chance and that are doing some great racing in the lower categories with some cars that are spec cars that are lending to much better racing. So I just think that, we talk a lot of trash occasionally about certain tracks, but I don't think that necessarily means anything negative about our fandom. We still, love it. There's drivers we don't care to watch, but just because I don't like Lance Stroll doesn't mean I don't listen to his interviews and see what he has to say. He's got some insight occasionally that is pretty decent. So, yeah, I think
if we didn't love this, we wouldn't be spending an hour of our Monday night to sit and talk about this.
Exactly.
It's funny, when he said drivers we don't care about, the first one that came to mind was Lance. I was like, Lance. So, as we kind of wrap up Belgium Grand Prix and Spa, any last final thoughts?
We can do points update from our predictions from last week.
Okay.
So Last week, y'all had the same podiums. So y'all both predicted Lando winning, Oscar second, Charles third. So y'all each picked up a point for Charles being in third place. Josh, you predicted Williams double points. Didn't quite happen. Paul, you predicted Hulkenberg in the points. Also did not quite happen.
We we almost had it. I was
You
so
almost
excited.
had
He
it.
was in like 10th or 9th, and I was like, dude, we got this. And then they pit, and I was like, oh, son
Hey,
of a
but I
gun.
was in the same boat. It's on my shocker. I was in the same boat because I had Ollie right outside and I had Haas getting points and I had Ollie just outside. And I think, in fact, in my recap, we had to leave before the race was over. And in my recap that I was doing, it was like, I think there were like 10 laps left. And I was like, and we've got, the steak saubers in 9 and 10. It was like, or like 11 and 12. And I was like, sorry, guys, I need y'all because I need Haas up there.
Yeah.
But I had Oscar winning, Lando second, Max third, Haas points. So I picked up 2 points for Oscar and Lando. So our current points total, Josh and I are tied at 10. Paul, you are at 7. Still very much in the hunt.
Still, it's not over till it's over.
That's right. It's not over till it's over.
All right, so let's get into the predictions for this week. Like we said, we've talked about enough. They're going to Hungary. Josh, what do you think was going to happen this weekend?
I think this is a race that qualifying matters more than the race. To be honest, I don't find this track. It's another one that doesn't quite have a lot of overtaking zones. There was a couple decent corners, but nothing that's really gonna stick out to me. This is not one of my favorites, to be honest. But qualifying is always interesting because you never know who's gonna pick it up. So I will refrain from any more comments about this circuit.
Okay, who do you have? Who do you think is going to podium?
I think podium's gonna be the McLarens on top. I'm gonna take Oscar and then Lando. I think he's just on a tear. I don't say that taking his race into consideration. I think the race is separate. His qualifying was so much better than Lando's for the sprint, and then Lando got lucky, I think, on the regular qualifying. But the sprint qualifying, Oscar was quite a bit ahead of Lando. So I'm going to take Oscar winning, Lando second. I'm going to take Charles third. So it's my same deal from last week. But my shocker prediction, I'm going to take both Ferraris in the top 5.
Okay.
All right, Meredith.
I have Oscar winning, Max second, Lando third, and I'm going Haas points again. I'm feeling it. Like Haas they're clicking, they're grinding. So I'm going Haas points again. So at least one Haas in the points. What do you got, Paul?
All right, so all right. It's going to be Lando in first, Oscar in second. And I'm going to go with a just from left field, new reinvigorated Lewis. I think he gets third. That man's got to get a podium. Think he's finally found something in the car. So I'm really rooting for Lewis. And I think the Racing Bulls are going to get on top. I think Racing Bulls double points. For those of you in Central,
I nearly called Lewis winning it.
listen, I don't know if I'm willing to go that
I
far.
was like, who knows? Who knows what could happen? Then I was like, Meredith, get real.
Like, come on, McLaren's still there. They're still very fast.
Yeah.
That car's a rocket ship. For those of you in Central Standard Time in the U.S., it's an 8 a.m. race. It's 70 laps in Hungary, so we look forward to seeing what happens.
A lot of coffee.
A lot of coffee. Well, it's 8 a.m., so there shouldn't be that much
8.
Well, it was
coffee.
like 6 a.m. for me this last weekend because I was in Cali.
That's right, you were in
So, like,
California.
it was like 6 a.m. and I'm like, okay, wake up.
Yeah.
I was like thankful for the delay.
So let's kind of bridge into that. As we kind of put a pin on F1 for today, let's move over to IndyCar. IndyCar was at Laguna Seca in Monterey, California. Great race. I didn't really know too much about it, but everybody kept hyping it up on what a fun track it is. So I really looked forward to it. Palou came in first in qualifying, followed by Pato in second. Those two are first and second in the standings. You never really knew what was going to happen, but put this over to Meredith. She actually flew all the way out to California, saw the race, was her first IndyCar race. So what did you think? What were your thoughts?
Amazing. Like, hearing everything about Laguna Seca and how much people talked about how incredible it was and just like how fun the track is, the corkscrew, the iconic 6-story drop. Like I was like, yeah, this will be cool. I've been to some car races. This will be cool. No, it was amazing. I mean, absolute perfection. I was really worried because we only went, I was telling Paul before you hopped on, Josh, we only went out for race day. So this was kind of like a two birds, one stone. It was like we did half golf trip, half IndyCar trip. So that was the way I was able to swindle people to go with me. And so Saturday, we got up, we golfed, and then we went out to Big Sur and hung out. And then Sunday, we just went and did race day stuff. And when you get there, the access you have at IndyCar is completely different than like what you get with Formula One. And I even felt that way when I went to my first WEC race. I was like, oh wow, like you can buy the add-on paddock ticket, you can buy the add-on, and you can go walk right down in the paddock and be able to see all the drivers. Their haulers are right there. Like that's just open to the public. So I just feel like, I'd heard a bunch of the other girls that I listened to, like the Laps Down Pod and Podium Pop girls, talk about how accessible IndyCar is. It really is. I was telling Paul, like, we bought a hospitality ticket package because it was my first time. We were planning every other thing on this trip. I just wanted to show up and be catered. Like, I wanted to show up and have things done for me. With the ticket package that I bought, it was all inclusive, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, hospitality, food, drink, everything came with a parking pass. You park right where the hospitality is. You have a driver that drives you around. Oh, you want to go see the corkscrew? Great, hop on the golf cart. I'll drive you around. Oh, you want to go down and meet the team? You want to go see some of the people? Great, hop on the golf cart. I'll escort you down. So it really was such a cool experience. And for $600 a ticket for the entire weekend, I didn't feel that was asinine, especially because like I got into motorsport because of F1 and being used to F1 prices. Seeing a weekend hospitality for 600, including the parking pass, and like we got to have amazing people come in and speak. I got to meet Willpower was my first one to meet, which was so cool. It's like Joe comes in and he's like, Meredith, Willpower's outside. And I'm like, what? And so I like go outside really quick and he's out there and he's just like walking by and I was like, hey, can we get a picture? And he was so nice. And then I got to meet Scott McLaughlin, also so nice. Like, both were like in hurries, had just done speaking engagements, but all so willing to like talk, take pictures. Going down into the paddock, I mean, like you're passing everybody. That's like they're being bonged by in the scooters. Like Stingray Rob rolls like right past me on the scooter. David Malukas walks by. They're just right there. And I know they're just humans, but like again, coming from it where like in Formula One, that's such an exclusive thing to get to experience that and be right there. And then like when we went down and did the pit walk, all of a sudden I turn around and Pato's there. And I'm like freaking out. And I'm like, this isn't the time to ask for a picture. He's literally walking to go like get in his car, but I was like, it was just such a cool experience. Now that I know what it's like to get to go and how accessible everything is, I definitely wish I would have taken advantage of more stuff throughout the weekend. A little harder to do when you're on a group trip that like they're only going to IndyCar because of me, right? Like, so I was like, okay, I would have definitely liked to take advantage of more. One thing that I don't think I heard enough people talk about is how exciting like the other racing series are that are there. Like usually they do the Indy Next before the Indy NTT, but because of the cloud covers and stuff in the morning, they did it after the race. And I'm so glad we stayed to watch that because I think the Indy Next race was actually more exciting than the Indy NTT race. I mean, Palou got out there in the lead and we had a Piastri situation, just took it and ran with it. Which was so cool to watch Alex Palou do that live, like seeing it. It was like seeing, Oscar in Miami being that far ahead of all the other cars. 10 out of 10, 15 out of 10. Would go back to any race at Laguna Seca. Absolutely want to go do the IMSA race there, the IMSA endurance race. Absolutely want to do that. I would literally go to any event at Laguna Seca. It was incredible. The staff, the volunteers were so amazing, so knowledgeable, so friendly. So shout out Michael, if you listen to this, Michael that was helping us at the Club 1957. Thank you. We appreciate you. You're the best. I think it was an overall incredible experience. And Paul, I know you're going to Nashville soon. I think you are going to be blown away.
I can't wait. I'm excited.
Yeah, but I want you to just remember that because when you come to Coda in October, we're gonna just get bar's just gonna come down a little.
No, I understand that, and I get it, but I'm excited for Coda for a whole nother reasons. I have a special outfit picked out for that. It's gonna be eventful. I can't wait. But I'm really excited about IndyCar. I think the access that you have for the price that I paid, I can't wait. I'm super stoked.
Plus, you're there for the last race of the season.
Hopefully it comes down to the last race of the season. I bought my hat. I can't wait. I'm really looking forward to it. It's going to be a 2-day, all-day event. I've been looking at the schedule. I'm super pumped.
I think you'll have a fantastic time, and it's just really fun. I think, especially with us talking about overtake so much today in tracks where it's like not a lot of overtaking, I think it was really nice to see that in IndyCar this weekend and to be able to see how competitive it is, how close it is. Like, I watched an Indy Next car go completely airborne yesterday, like ramped up off the other. I don't know if y'all saw, I posted it on our story. Like it was crazy. It was tight. The battles, things just change so much more quickly in IndyCar, I feel like. And, someone goes in for a pit and it completely changes the rest of their race. And even like the last 10 laps yesterday, Pato fought back. He'd kind of been stuck down there in the sixth, fifth after such a, like that start. I was just like, no. And then it was just not looking good. And then those last 10 laps, like Pato really fought his way back, fought his way up to fourth. I think if he would have had 2 or 3 more laps, I think he could have got up into third. But Colton Herta drove great. He needed a podium. It's been a minute. I got to see an Arrow McLaren on a podium while I was there. So very, very happy girl overall. It was a great day to be a papaya fan yesterday.
Absolutely. And the Nashville race is an oval race, so hopefully that gives us a lot more overtaking, a lot more excitement. But yeah, the race at Laguna Seca was great. I sadly watched it on TV. Great for Christian Lundgaard, who was able to podium. Great move that he made on Colton Herta there. I don't know, little ballsy, little too much elbow in my opinion, but hey, racing is racing. So I really wish somebody could have been able to dethrone Alex Palou, because he seemingly seems untouchable. So
I mean, but y'all, it's like, watching him be that far out in front of everybody, it was just like that was so cool to get to see. Like I would have loved for it to be anybody else. Like it's not that I dislike the guy at all, but like it really was cool to see it in person and to be like, that is how good he is. And I think Chip Ganassi even did an interview talking about that yesterday afternoon. He was like, we've had a lot of incredible drivers come through Chip Ganassi Racing. He is in a league of his own. And I think like I've said it before, like what we're seeing with Alex Palou is like that kind of dominance and skill level that he is refining to is like what Max was at in 2023. Now I know 2023, definitely he dominated the season a lot more, but in terms of like how quickly he's developing to get to that upper echelon of racing is just impressive.
Well, we should ask Zach Brown what he thinks of Alex Palou, but that's a conversation for another day. But I don't think the lawsuits have been settled just yet when it comes to that. But yeah, it's just a great series. I've really started to get into it this year, and you really never know what's going to happen. And just Alex, even towards the end, he just kept increasing that gap, and it was just like, this dude's on another level. They don't make him like him. So good for him. Hopefully Pato can close up that gap. They take a couple weeks off there, and Portland is the next race on August 10th. I looked it up and I completely forgot.
I don't even know what my first meeting is tomorrow.
Yeah, Portland on August 10th is the next race. So hopefully, Pato can bring something and close up that gap, because I really would love to see the championship being settled in Nashville.
Be wild.
I would lose it.
Yeah, so that's it. I mean, I can't say enough good things about it. Like I have to go back and like look through all my videos and my pictures. I'll post some content for sure on the Apex page and on my page. But I mean, it was unreal. I literally felt like I was in a daydream. It was just such a cool experience.
And I think anybody if you follow anyone that does motorsports content, they all say the same thing. The level of access you get with IndyCar for the price, you can't beat it. Insane. You're literally up there close and personal with the cars and the drivers. And we've seen it in F1. Unless you're some sort of celebrity or have paid hundreds of thousands of dollars, you're not going to get to stand right next to Lewis's car or Max's car. So it's just that level of access. You just can't beat it.
Yeah, absolutely not.
But any last final thoughts before we wrap this episode up, Josh?
Yeah, I'm going to watch the IMSA race this weekend.
Where are they at? Tell me about it.
I don't know anything about it. That's what I was going to say is I'm going to spend this week really figuring out how IMSA works, because I just figured out WEC, and IMSA is a little different. It's a regional, so it's just North America. But there's still, it's still different categories. GT3, there's a prototype. They race an LMP2 car. Where are they at? It's a great question. They are Road America. And
just so you know, Road America this weekend at IndyCar, they were talking about how Road America is almost every favorite driver's course. So you are picking a very good one to dive in on.
Yeah, I figured I was getting into the endurance racing. I figured I might as well get into like the North American racing series that actually could be accessible more than just once a year, with Lone Star Le Mans. So I don't know. But I'm gonna pick it up. I'll recap of next week. Maybe I'll post something when I figure out what it's all about. Awesome. I gotta take the weekend and just learn the categories, the drivers, the course. I gotta figure it out. So
You'll see a lot of familiar faces. You
yeah,
will.
I was reading names.
Especially with there being an IndyCar break. There are a couple of IndyCar drivers who also drive for IMSA. There are a couple of like WEC drivers that will also cross over and dabble into IMSA. So you will see some crossover.
Yeah, I was looking through the roster and I already saw some names. I was surprised. I saw K-Mag on there. I saw some former F1 drivers, couple IndyCar guys. So yeah, I think I'm excited. I'm gonna watch it. So we'll get back to it next weekend.
All right, so we look forward to seeing a recap from Josh on the IMSA race. I can't wait to learn about it. I didn't know anything about it. I always just think WEC, but I've heard the IMSA before, so maybe I'll also dive into it. Meredith, what are your last final thoughts of this episode?
No, it was such a good weekend. Still so much great racing ahead of us. I'm happy to be home, catch up on some sleep, and probably watch a lot of racing next weekend too. NASCAR's been really exciting. Bubba Wallace won yesterday
Absolutely,
at
yeah.
Indianapolis, like a monumental Brickyard win for him. So great racing on this weekend. Josh, I too will be glued to my TV, staying inside, enjoying air conditioning.
Well, Meredith, go enjoy the rest of your evening. I'm sure it's going to be an early bedtime for you. And yeah, with that, we wrap up the episode for the day. I hope everybody has a great Monday, great rest of your week. We look forward to talking to you guys next week. Everything Hungry. And Josh will give us his insight on the IMSA race. So, guys, take care. It was great talking to you. Please follow us on all our social medias. We'll post content as much as we can. Comment. Please interact with us. We'll try to, if there's any questions, we'll try to answer them live here for you guys. So, have a great week, everyone. Please take care.